Everything's coming up video.
Hello and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is QUACKCAST number 436. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Beans.
Hello.
Hello, my dear Beans. It's so lovely to see you. We too find ourselves here in this beautiful location once more.
Oh dear.
I'm so happy. So we don't have... Oh, you've unleashed it now. We don't have Pits or Tants. They're both away doing their own things. And to get your minds out of the gutter, people, they're not digging loos in the gutter. No. Those two lovely ladies are off. Tants was working for the Red Cross. And she's very, very tired because they make her do all sorts of things, rescuing poor people and stuff like that. And Pitsy is digging up dead bodies in Hungary. That's it. I'm not joking. That's where she is. She's in Hungary. She's being an archaeologist, which is her calling in life, which is amazing. But they can't do the super important thing, which is the QUACKCAST, so that's a shame. They've had to cut off those things to pursue their main interests. Tance and her helping people, and Pitsy and her finding more about the world. And that's what we're going to be talking about in this particular QUACKCAST.
What? Oh my god, that worked out.
It's amazing, yeah. Following your main interest, or perhaps not. Or spreading yourself thin, seeing how that goes.
Time management
for
management,
dummy. Yeah. That's a good kind of summary. All right. But before we get into that, speaking of time management, we have to go and talk about a featured comic. All right. So, QUACKCAST, tell us about the Caraway Crew.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is The Caraway Crew by Pencils, and it is rated T for teen. Coincidental premonition-filled dreams surrounding a magical key, strange writings that look like ruins, and the disappearance of several people in a town clouded in mystery. The Caraways are a family of siblings who encounter weird happenings and seek to solve problems around Eldritch, New England. They uncover a trail of newspaper clippings and articles left by their late father one day and seek to answer questions that he could not answer. Stay wary of strangers and dark entities that lurk in the shadows. The art is drawn using an amazing color palette of warm colors that almost seems nostalgic. The comic pages use a long, vertical comic strip format. Join this adventurous family and read The Caraway Crew by Pencils, rated T.
And that was the feature, The Caraway Crew. Thanks for that, Kwai. You are a special lady. You're very good at those
You're
features.
such a super lady.
Super lady. All right. Well, next up, we're going to be talking about the featured music from Gun Wallace. He has given us a theme to Niku, the World's Worst Ninja.
Oh, intriguing.
Which is a comic by Oz Carney Boy. Nikum, the World's Worst Ninja. Silence, punctuated by the gentle strains of traditional Japanese music. Beautiful and subtle, minimal yet essential. Then we slide on down a crazy swanny whistle into the dark, rocky world of 1970s James Bond-style electric guitars, portenting great action and danger. So take it away, Gun Wallace, with Niku, the World's Worst Ninja. was the QUACKCAST music. Niku, the World's Worst Ninja. A comic by Oz Carney Boy. Rated M. Read it. Okay. So we're talking about spreading yourself thin, or main interest, or time management, basically. Well, this idea occurred to me because, I have several things that people would normally regard, like even one of these things that I do, as a side interest. I have my day job, of course, as a graphic designer. And then I have other things that I do. So I manage Drunk Dark, which is, that takes up quite a bit of time. There's a lot of things I have to do to keep the site running and to keep, things are at the level they are at. I also do webcomics as well. So they take up a hell of a lot of time if I want to, do those to the level that I want to do them at, which is quite a high level of finish. I'm not bigging myself up by saying that. I put a lot of work in them to make them look like I want them to look. So, that takes a lot of work. Then I have do like costumes, cosplay. I spend hours and hours on sewing, trying to make these magnificent outfits. That's another main interest of mine. And podcasting. We bloody do that every damn week, although that's part of Drunk Dark. So there's all these kind of interests. And I was just thinking the other day that people that do these things at a higher level, like there are cosplayers who, that is their main interest. That is their main interest. They do that. They go and they do performances. They do charity work, stuff like that. And they have these fantastic costumes. And that is their main interest. They don't have other side interests. They just do that. And there are comic artists who are webcomic artists who don't manage websites. They don't go and do costumes and stuff. They do webcomics, and that there is their main side interest. And they get bloody good at it. I mean, I'm not talking about like artistically or whatever. I'm talking about they get popular doing that. They make a name for themselves doing it. And the only way you can do that is by funneling all your time, all your available spare time into that one thing. Not, as I say, not to become good at doing the skills, but promoting yourself, creating an output of work, one thing after another, creating all the different comic pages regularly. There's that's the kind of a main thing about it, getting your comic pages out, but also the promotion that has to be done, the deals that have to be done with other comic artists and bloggers and all that to get your name out, pushing yourself forward, getting your work printed out in anthologies, this kind of thing, making a name for yourself on social media the way you should. And I don't just mean saying, oh, I've updated today. I mean, you bloody put your panels out one after another, sized perfectly, onto Instagram, onto Tumblr, onto Facebook. You do that every single day. You keep track of that. You keep track of your Google Analytics. You put ads on different websites. You measure how much viewers those particular ads on those sites get, and the type of ads. Those are the kind of things you have to do to get really popular as a webcomic artist. I think I've talked about the idea before of I'll get into that a little later. Okay, so what I'm talking about now is introducing the idea of, if you want to become really not just good at something, but big at something, it involves a lot of time and effort. A lot of time and effort has to be put into it. Yeah, so the skill, as what's that idea of like 1,000 hours or 10,000 hours? I think that was the myth, that if you put that into anything, you'll become an expert. All right, that's only like 10% of the story. So you've become good at this stuff, but in this world, if you want to become big, you've got to put in way more effort than 10,000 hours, practice getting good at it. And then you have to become your own advertiser, your own marketer. That's where you have to become good in this world of the internet. As a webcomicer, yeah. Or as a cosplayer, or as a podcaster, or a website manager, or any of these things. It involves mountains of hours. And I was thinking from this occurred to me because I'm managing all these things. I'm spreading myself thin and trying to become, really good or really big at these things, which you have to do. Like a webcomic site like Drunk Duck needs way more than just what I'm doing, which is like keeping it running. You have to grow it. And that's very hard when I'm doing all these other things and I have these things as other interests. And I have to have these other things as interests because it would kill me just to focus on one thing. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, you'd be missing so much.
Yeah.
So, in life.
And your passion would wane and you can't, keep up that level of enthusiasm. But that's why this idea occurred to me. But that, you can become really big, but you have to put in a lot of hours. And especially for us webcomicers, I still think of myself as even though I'm doing this other stuff, I still think of myself as a webcomicer. So let's talk about the idea of webcomics and what you have to do to become big in those. So you've got an inkling about it, haven't you?
Well, yes. I have no name, and
Well,
I started drinking. All that talk of how much effort it took, I had to turn to the whiskey.
I was drinking at the same time. I was filling myself up on tea.
If you want to get good at drinking and effective, you need to put in the hours.
Exactly. You have to build up that tolerance just a bit at a time.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like sort of how do you find your pants? Like, how do you figure out what city you're in when you wake up?
You got to develop strategies.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, mnemonics.
Well, first and foremost, like, I love what you were saying about, like, not just the quality of images you're doing, quality of writing.
Yeah,
Those are
writing.
Two important things. There's drawing, there's writing, and there's composing a page.
Yeah.
Composing a story. But there's also the consistency of it. Like you said, like putting out pages regularly all the time. That's like, even if you're not spending the massive hours on a single page that an artist like you spends, there's a lot of time involved in like being regular kind of producer of pages, and that's pretty essential.
Exactly. You have to be, and you have to put those out regardless. So you've got to quit being a perfectionist, and you've just got to put those out to a decently high level. Maintain it consistently. That's
a line that people have to figure out. Yeah,
and that's only the start. That's the start.
That's just the beginning. World. Exactly.
That's the base level. Once you reach that, which I haven't reached, once upon a time I could. These days, not so much. So that's the base level. You've got to get to that level and produce pages at a consistently high quality regularly, like at least once a week. Then you have to go into the world of marketing. And this will make you a big webcomicer and a big name. If you could do this, so first step, become good. Become decently good. Second step, produce regularly. Third step, become a marketer of your work. And this is the hardest part because it's an alien knowledge. To a writer and a creator, actually marketing yourself is a very different skill set. And you have to learn about that. The easiest way to do it is to buy advertising. The very easiest way to do that is to like network within the site that you're on. All right, that's the basic.
Yeah, that's free.
That's free, and there are people doing the same thing as you, so it's easier to connect and understand them. So you can compliment them on your work. They can come and compliment you. You can slowly build up a name for yourself by, becoming a name within your comic community. But I mean, one thing I've got to say is, I see these people on blogs and groups and stuff like that saying, yeah, this site I can get more traction, I can get more subscribers, I can get more viewers through this comic hosting site or that comic hosting site. And I just want to say to people who think that's a thing, bullshit. That's...
Oh my God, he went blue again.
I went blue. I went off script. All right, if that's... The thing is, you're competing against...
Can't you say hogwash?
It's hogwash, exactly. But you're competing against all the thousands of other people on that site who are all using the same mechanism to try and get big. So it's a very limited, bucket there. The swimming pool you're swimming in is the same one that everyone else is peeing in at the same time, all right? You're drinking their pee. That's all you're doing. Yeah,
Good heavens.
Yeah, you're drinking their pee and then you're peeing it out back into the pool and then you're drinking it again. Okay, so you have a pee cycle. That's what you're living with. Anyway, well, before
that's so disgusting.
Get to that. Yeah, so that's not how you get big. That's how you can get to a certain level and then you will plateau. The way you get big in comics is by going outside of that. You have to go well outside of that. And I don't mean just putting your comic on lots of other comic hosting sites, because you're going to keep on plateauing and you can't keep spreading yourself thin. You're going to spread yourself thinner and thinner if you want to start networking with all these sites and getting big. And it's going to be pointless anyway, because your audience is split up across 10 million websites and you can't keep track of them. So it's a dumb idea. All right, the way you've got to get big in doing your comics is marketing. And you do that through, buying advertising. That is the easiest way. So you spend money, you buy ads. Then you've got to knock it up a notch. So you've got to master social media. So Instagram is a really, really, really good one to do. That's at the moment. This stuff changes as well. So you've got to realize that. Once you master this stuff, then you realize you have to keep learning. So you can't just master it and think, I sit on my laurels, rest on my laurels, I know it now. No, you've got to keep on up with what's popular. So at the moment it's Instagram. That's one of the main things. So you've got to present your comic in a way that's readable in that format, which means, cut it up into panels and show, a few panels at a time rather than showing whole pages. That's what you've got to do. And the most important thing is hashtags. You have to master the hashtags. You have to hash webcomics, hash guns, hash action girls, hash sexy webcomic girls. You have to do every single iteration and variation of what could possibly be of interest in your comic in the form of a bloody hashtag. And that has to be in the notes of every single posting you make on Instagram. You could do that in Facebook as well, but Facebook doesn't really bring in... Because Facebook is designed to focus around advertisers. And, well, that's another thing. Okay, so Facebook advertising. There's ways to master that as well. I don't know them all. You've got to learn about it. Okay, so there's Facebook advertising. There's Instagram. There's advertising on sites like Drunk Duck. So we offer advertising, so you can get all of our viewers, every single one of the people who are viewing, coming to the website to look at comics, is able to look at your ads on our site. So that's quite good. You can get all our viewers in one go just by advertising on the site. And there are other sites that advertise, of course. Okay, lots of them. You just look for ads and you look for ability to put your ad there, and you do that. What you should do, okay, is look for sites. Don't advertise yourself on any site. Advertise yourself on a site that caters to things that your readers might be interested in. Okay, you do a sci-fi webcomic, look at sci-fi blogging sites that review sci-fi movies, maybe sites that have sci-fi toys. Okay, anything that pop culture can possibly kind of gel with what your readership's into, that kind of thing. So sort of think in those sort of terms. Sites that sort of relate to your interests. I mean, maybe your comic's about wrestling. Goes to wrestling fan sites. That love interests, maybe, I don't know, if it's a romance comic, there's got to be something out there for you. So
there's probably romance reader and romance writer, and even probably romance comic sites out there, conversation sites and stuff.
Exactly. Like that, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, there are ways to do it. So bought advertising is it's sort of an easy way of doing things, but you have to direct it. Okay, so that's an approach, advertising. Then how do you know what advertising works? Okay, so the way to do that usually is to have the advertising not go to necessarily a site like Drunk Duck where you've got, webcomics hosted, but your own personal site where you've got control. Because what you're going to have to do is have Google Analytics, or not necessarily Google Analytics. There are other analytical kind of tools to use, but you need analytical tools to work out what ads work for you. So not only which sites are bringing in the advertising, but what ads that you're using, what imagery and what text on those ads is bringing in your viewers. So that's another level you've got to master. But once you do, this will bring in the rewards. You can become massive from doing this. Okay. So yeah, those are some kinds of ways to get yourself big. Oh, and there are other ways. You can popular webcomicers, popular YouTubers. You can get in touch with them that are in your field of interest. Say a YouTuber that talks about comics. There's a great guy called Comic Tropes. Okay, so he's fantastic because he's talking about comics for a start. So webcomicers have already a bit of an in, but he at the end of his Comic Tropes things, he calls out for fan art. So fan art of his show, right? So all you have to do is just draw him, and then he will show that fan art. And then he will have a link to you as the video, and he'll call out your name. So there you are. That is a way to get your name out there and viewers coming back to you. But you could also do fan art for popular comics. Sometimes popular comic artists, they have a week where they can't do their comics for whatever reason. They're going on holiday, so they ask for guest comicers. Get in on that. It will bring you the views. Yeah, or just do fan art for people. Fan art for everyone. Sooner or later, they're going to say, oh, wow, I love this, and show your work and put a link to you. Fan art not only for webcomicers, but fan art for radio shows, podcasters, bloggers, anything where you could do fan art and they could have an ability to reciprocate in some way. Do that kind of stuff. So these are kind of levels. Then there's conventions. So you can have a booth at a convention or a table at a convention. You can have print versions of your comics. You can print, what you should do as well is print cards that have, an illustration and have a link. You can have business cards. You can have postcards, which are great for that. You can have a little zine, short little 5-page comic, hand those things out. These are kind of things you can do to promote yourself and put yourself on the map. And although, when I say con, that's usually you're not spreading stuff out as widely as you are online, because you can reach millions of people online. You can only reach, hundreds in flesh and blood. But the thing is, if the connections you make personally at conventions can be a lot stronger than what you can make, by someone just glancing at your work online. So that's a good way to get a dedicated reader. And maybe if they become a dedicated reader, the word of mouth will help spread you to more. So that's the reason that is beneficial to you. Getting your work in anthology comics. So that's when you've got a bunch of different writers publishing together, which is a cheaper way to produce, have a hard copy of your work. You could do that. That also gets your name out there. So yeah, there are a lot of different things. You could try and jump into the professional world, do submissions to publishing houses or, I don't know if heavy metal comics are still really going, but people like them. You could submit your work to them, see if you can get it published. So yeah, you could take that route. Have you got any ideas about this sort of thing?
Wow, that's it. You've covered it. You've sort of laid out huge
sways of it.
Those are all great ideas.
My plan.
I've done nothing, so I have no idea really. Those all sound great.
Well, I haven't done much of this, but it's the thing is, because of my position as being, managing a webcomic site for so long, I have to be in this world, and I've known thousands and thousands of people who have done every single one of these things, and I have to be up with this knowledge.
Yeah.
Because that's my world, even though I can't dedicate myself to it. Because of the aforementioned things, I have all these interests. So when I'm talking about, doing all this stuff, what you have to do to get to that level and to be producing these, to be part of the anthologies, to be doing this level of marketing, that becomes basically your full-time side thing. So if you have other side things, you have to sort of, put those on the back burner. This is now your main thing. If you want to do it, you have to go all the way. Right? I'm sorry, but yeah, you have to sort of, make decisions.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. I guess the original point of this was you can't spend all your time. You can't spend your time on everything that you like. You have to focus if you want to get somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean, you can. But if you want to get somewhere, really get somewhere, you have to kick it up.
That's it.
In intensity, more focus.
Right. It's with anything. Say I met plenty of people who have amazing bodies. Oh my God, they have the bodies you see like we draw as comic artists, men with huge muscly figures, women with super sexy bodies. They don't get that just by being born with it. They get that by spending hours in the gym every week, dedicated and foregoing certain foods and having their lives revolve around that activity and having their cupboards full of protein powder and drinking shakes and just that is their life. So yeah, it takes dedication to reach that. You just can't be lazy and just fall into it. I mean, people say they do, but they don't. The reality is
I eat whatever I want.
So yeah, you got to go for it. If you want to reach the top, you can't have a lot of interest. You can't have a lot of stuff, also taking up your time. And I'm not saying like you can't have a family or you can't, run a business. You can't be an employee. You can't, have a job or a life. I'm just saying your side interests that also take passion and time. Those have to tend to, go to the back burner if you want to go all the way and become Mr. Big. All right, so that is the second part of the QUACKCAST. We've done the intro about why I came to this conclusion, and now that is how it applies to webcomics. All right, so what happens for the rest of us? What happens for us, for people like Baines and I that do all these things? Are we less of a person? Are we less of people? Are we just pathetic examples of terribleness? The fact that we aren't big, that we aren't massively popular podcasters, or we aren't, like world names in webcomics, or famous cosplayers, or, dancers, or whatever else? Are we, Baines?
Are we pathetic examples? Yeah. I mean, I am.
Cucks. I think that's
not because
we're just cucks. Well, Baines enlightened me, when we were talking about it on our video, our Patreon video. If you subscribe to that, you can see us in full color glory. Baines sort of helped me come to the conclusion is you don't actually need to be Mr. Super Big. I mean, why? Obviously, you want to become good at something. You want more readers. You want more people looking at your fantastic work that you put so much, time and effort into. And maybe helping it go even further, and maybe even making it a job. That idea sounds great, but really, do you want to spend all your passion and all your time on that one thing? Really? It's like,
you might not want to.
Do you really want to have some amazing gym body or do you want to enjoy food? Whenever you want. Whenever you want. Do you want to just laze about on the couch and not go to the gym? You know? Do you want to, like, enjoy life? One isn't worse or better than the other thing. So, like, there's this old idea of, like, they used to have in the old days a gentleman scientist, all right? So you'd have, like, dedicated people who are dedicated to, you know, one particular field, and they become really good at it. And, you know, like the incredible mathematicians, whatever. But once upon a time, we had like these gentlemen amateurs who are just pretty good at many things. So they'd be great painters and great sportsmen, and, you know, amateur scientists. They'd be doing archaeology and all this kind of stuff. And that was their life. This was that was how it was back in the 19th century. You had the people with enough, they had to have enough money to do it for a start. And for us, the equivalent of that is to have enough time. So if you have enough time, then you can decide how you want to use it. All right, but when you do have enough time, yeah, I personally think that the gentleman amateur is that's not a bad thing to be. Because what you become is you become extremely good at many of these things. You might not become world famous at any of these things that you're doing. Fair enough. But does that really matter? Do you really need that world fame? Because fame is fantastic, and maybe you can get money from that. You know, definitely you could get money from that. But are you really enjoying that? That can take away your enjoyment from doing those things, because that's what we actually get into these things for, isn't it? Because it is a side thing, like, you know, webcomics, cosplay, podcasting. I enjoy all these things. Running Drunk Duck, I enjoy it. It is work. It really is work. But none of them are so much work that it leaves me feeling depressed or angry or upset about it. I have passion for all these things without finding them a burden. And the added benefit is I'm not so dedicated on them that I'm at a loss what to do when I'm not able to work on that one thing. I just switch to something else. I have many interests. So what I'm trying to say is, if you don't want to put in those hours and do all that work, that's not a bad thing. You can... Taking the other choice of being the gentleman amateur is just as valid. It's just as valid to split up your time, to leave yourself hosted on a comic host, to become a big fish in a small pond and reach the top of that particular area, you know, networking and stuff like that, not bothering to pay for advertising or anything and, you know, do analytics or whatever. Just become really, really good at what you're doing and keep it as that. Produce something beautiful and marvelous that you enjoy doing, that you're proud of, and have your other interests as well. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Don't you think,
Not at all. That's a great thing. I mean, I know when I first was doing my cartoon, it took tons of hours to do each episode. And I had to do it, you know, part-time in between work and stuff like that. I still have to do everything part-time. I have many things going on and interests too.
Exactly.
And the idea of making money off of it, even, or I mean, famous, maybe occasionally I'll have like a fantasy about that, but it's not really a driver for me at all. To be a famous anything. I mean, the fact that it would come with money is more appealing. Fame just seems like a massive headache to me. But, you know, even with that, even like the sort of idea of like, oh, I wonder if I could like make some money off this or that. You know, it's still more like, how do I want to spend my time? You know, what do I want to do? What do I really want out of it? Or what is good enough to get out of it that it's worth it? You know?
Exactly.
And it's kind of like doing a comic, which I'm slow at it these days. It's hard to find even that little bit of time. There's a lot of TV to watch. But like doing stories that people are like kind of remember what's happening and like people are reading it. That's so satisfying. It's also, I mean, as an aside, that's not really something you can control. It's outside of your control. So it's kind of like what other people do can't be really part of your goal necessarily. You can want it to be good enough that it's worth looking at and have a goal to find the right audience, find the right readers who will like what you're doing. That's fine. But I will say, to me, like doing this stuff, finishing stories, like finishing chapters of the story or individual sort of standalone stories in my series is incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, the work is its own reward.
Yeah, exactly. And to kind of get better at it, like to get maybe a little bit quicker, which I struggle with that, but like a little bit better, a little bit cleaner at getting to a satisfying conclusion in a story, like writing a good ending.
Yeah.
Maybe getting a little better at art.
Yeah.
Is great. Yeah.
Exactly. It's the process is an enjoyment in its own right. The result is neither here nor there. See,
yeah.
I think that's the main difference. See, if you want to get big at something, the result is everything. And not just the results, the aftermath. That's everything. So the process is just routine. You're just doing something that's good enough to get to the level, and that handles itself. Then it's the results and the aftermath. That's what you have to focus on. But that's not the fun part. That's work. That is pure, absolute work. The fun part is the creation. And if you like what you're doing, if you like it as a side thing, and that is your fun, that is your relaxation, then it's not going to help you to become big at all. That's going to negatively impact your enjoyment in life. I'm just saying that right now. I mean, money is always good, but it won't necessarily lead to money. The thing is enjoyment and relaxation and fun, and you get that by actually creating, and like you were saying, getting better, improving. There we are. That's another level of it. Improving actually is a fun experience. And seeing people's reactions to things is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Fame, the upside of fame is you can have a lot more people having a reaction to your stuff.
Yes.
But that comes with many, many downsides. Like unintended consequences and weird people having weird reactions and people forcing you to do certain things, and you're getting way away from your original intentions.
Yeah, so they tie you up in a cabin. They make you write more comics.
Break your legs.
And then they hammer your damn ankles.
Exactly.
Like, who needs that?
But yeah, so if you're in something for the passion, there are a lot of articles about this these days, like, your side hustle and, why it's not so good to make your side hustle your job, or you should do what you love. But there is truth to that. If something is something you enjoy, if you turn it into a job, you can cut off that joy. You can turn that into something you hate.
Yeah.
Fair enough if you've got no other options and you just want to become, really good at this one thing because, your job's not paying enough, and, this is going to become your way to success. That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you should go for that. If you can do that, that's amazing. But for a lot of us, we are in a position where we have, we've got time, we've got a job that gives us enough money to keep us comfortable and handle our needs. And
ish.
Yeah, ish. So the other things we do are about enriching our lives more than funding it. And that's an important thing. That is as equally important to your life as, becoming super big is. Like, like the analogy of, you know, the super fit, beautiful gym body person, that is fantastic, and I support that. And they put in the work and the effort to look like that, and that's a marvelous achievement, and that takes a lot of sacrifice to do. It's incredible that they are able to do that. On the same level, enjoying yourself whenever you want, sitting on the couch and, you know, watching TV and you know, eating ice cream and whatever out of a bowl whenever, and enjoying those cakes. That is also
pouring like 2 ounces of whiskey into your sundae.
Exactly. Just
eating it,
tipping out 2 ounces and just taking the rest of the bottle. That's basically, yeah, that is joy in life in itself. That is equal in you like earn your money, you spend your time working or whatever to deserve that kind of way of life. And that is as equally as important as having admiration of people and feeling good about yourself by having a gym body. Neither one of those things are better than the other. You know, you've got different ways of enjoying life. So yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. It's okay to spread yourself thin and try and do everything, sure. But if you do want to become, you know, massive at that one thing, then you have to realize that you have to start pruning away, start minimizing the other stuff, and just, you know, going for it, which is a perfectly valid thing to do, and I support you in doing that.
Yeah. And doing what you want. It's good to think about, though. You know, if you have something in mind, if you want to do something that's going to be good enough to have a readership and make some money off of, or go to like a pro level or whatever, it does take some. You've got to devote some time into it and some intensity.
It does, yeah. And I'm not joking about that either. I mean, I know I'm not. It doesn't sound like I'm joking about it, but there are a lot of real world examples. I'm not just pulling this out of my bum, so to speak. You like authors that have got big, or comedians that have got really good at comedy. They haven't just gone to open mic nights, you know, now and again. The story of the comedians that gets big, what generally happens is they say, okay, I saved up money from doing crap jobs, and then, you know, I quit my main job because I just couldn't like spend the time I'd taken in my main job. I just couldn't keep doing that if I wanted to become big at comedy. So I promised myself I would like take little shitty jobs for a year, or do no work for a year and just dedicate myself to comedy. So I'd like go to open mic nights all over the place. I'd like do all terrible little bookings at tiny little towns and tiny little clubs and that kind of stuff. I just do that and work on my material, and, you know, spend a year or 2 years doing that. Or maybe they get supported by their family, and they, with enough dedication and enough work and putting that into their craft, they do get big, and it works. You know, musicians, it's the same thing. You're not going to be a famous musician by, you know, just doing a few gigs here and there and playing at restaurants or whatever, or, you know, doing background music. You got to be super dedicated and put in the time and the work and promotion, and then you will go for it.
Yeah.
So I think it. That's fine. I think what happens is you do tend to get in like this self-deception. You do develop a level of self-deception where you imagine that, oh, if I keep on doing this bits and pieces of work, or, you know, doing what I'm doing every week, the same thing, you know, I'll eventually get big. People will eventually notice me. I'll eventually get there, just by osmosis, or just I've just put out so much stuff that maybe someone will notice and I'll finally get there. That's so unlikely to happen. Really, really, really is. To get there, you have to put in the work. There's no other way to do it. You have to put in. I'm sorry repeating myself over and over again, but it's something that's hard to take on board. But and again, I'll keep on repeating this other mantra is you shouldn't feel bad that you can't put in the work, or you shouldn't feel bad that you are not big, because not being, super famous or the top level is not a bad thing. There are all sorts of ways of enjoying your life and enjoying what you're doing. And I'm not saying everything's equal, everyone's good, everyone deserves a prize. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there is joy in different things. And not one thing is superior to another. So, yeah, find your joy in life and go for it. Find the things.
So well said.
Yeah, it's basically don't keep chasing some, myth. Don't feel bad about where you are. Like a lot of us do that. We automatically always think, oh, the grass is greener, or he's better than me, she's better. There's this old idea of oh, no matter how good you think you are, someone else is always better than you. Someone else is like, and that, on the face of it, that seems like, oh, that's sort of logical. Yeah, this other guy is way better, like artist than I am. Or this other guy's way better, writer or singer. Yeah, that must mean I'm bad. That must mean I'm less. There, but and in some ways, that's a good way of thinking. In that, I can strive to that.
There's always something to strive for. There's always something to learn.
I could maybe be that good if I can just, do some extra work. That's so cool what they're doing. Yeah, but the other part of that is it doesn't matter that they are really good at this thing, because you have your, like, if we're talking about Dungeons and Dragons level kind of analogy, you have like stat points in other areas. Yeah, so maybe you are not at that particular level of art, but maybe you are also a really good story writer, as well as being pretty good at art. So it really doesn't matter that you haven't put in 10,000 hours to get exactly there, because you have a whole bunch of other things that you're better at as well, Mm-hmm. So never feel inferior to other people because of what they have achieved, and never feel superior to other people because, maybe you are a brilliant artist or a fantastic story writer, but are you a good dancer? They've always got something that they're much, maybe they're a fantastic gamer. They're so good that they have a Twitch stream and they've got lots of viewers and they're making money.
Right.
So there are different ways of doing stuff. I've become Tanserine here. Everyone is good at something. Yeah, but so the point of this QUACKCAST is it takes super dedication, and you have to be honest about that. If you want to get to the the high levels, put in the work. But it is not a bad thing if you don't want to get there. Okay?
Yeah, kind of. Advice depends on where you're at. I mean, I definitely think sometimes I'm doing stuff not at an intense enough level. Some people are overly intense, so it kind of depends who you are. I mean, to me, it makes sense to learn a little more of how to do something, seek out good instruction, even on something like I consider myself reasonably good at, like writing, kind of, focus in and find a way to get better at it, which is what I'm doing right now. And working on that kind of stuff makes me realize that getting good at something does take a little more intensity than I'm used to giving. And for my part, I'm happy to do it and happy to try to bring that intensity because I do want to get better at it.
Yeah.
Put in the time, butt in the chair, doing the stuff, spending the hours, and also the mental energy it takes to do something well. Like can be some pretty hard thinking, and for art as well. Like it takes some pretty hard labor and focus to do something real, and then realize when it's not working or when it is working.
Yeah. All
that stuff. So it's great. There's so much opportunity out there to learn stuff and do stuff. And
Oh yeah, and
it's great.
Like, yeah, and when I say, don't feel bad that you're not like super top level or whatever and enjoy what you're doing, I'm not talking about settling. Like, yeah, I do shitty art and that's all I'm ever going to do, and that's good enough. Yeah, get better at what you're doing, because that's fun. It's fun to get better, and you'll get more praise, and that's fun as well. We're social animals. We get endorphins and happiness from getting praise and becoming accepted by doing something well. So that's a good thing to do. So yeah, always improve and become better and strive to be the best of what you do. But getting super big at something takes different levels of skill, and you've got to decide for yourself whether you are ready or whether you even want to do that, because that is a commitment, and it's a commitment that takes away from all the other things you want to do. So just keep that in mind. So yeah, but strive and get better and improve and have fun, and always enjoy your side thing that you're doing, because it shouldn't be work. Unless you want it to be.
Indeed. Even if it's effort.
Yeah, if it's hard. Like, drawing a comic page for me is hard work. Managing Drunk Duck is hard work. But if I wanted to take any of those things further, it would be massively more hard work. Intolerably. So, are you ready for that? All right. Well,
all right, man.
Should we sign off then?
Let's sign off.
Right. Bye-bye, people. Bye-bye, my beautiful, beautiful people who listen to the QUACKCAST. You're all lovely.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
And look for my new article. Do what you love and still hate yourself anyway.
That's next week.
Next news
Thursday.
post. Yes.
All right.